Hi and welcome to Knit with Hannah. I'm Hannah, I'm here with Knitting Natter to help you learn to knit the easy way. So this video was filmed during the summer this year when I was knitting up the samples for this collection, and I was making poms for the Christmas hat and stuff. And we're making poms. There are so many ways to make poms. There are multiple methods. And there are new gadgets coming out regularly showing you how to make a pom. But I thought we'd DIY one today. We're not cutting out circles this time. Especially with super chunky yarn, I find this method is so much better. Because with super chunky, if you use a cardboard ring, then it is uneven. You haven't got much space to get more yarn in. So this method I very much prefer. I made this up as I was knitting this summer, so I hope you like it and I hope you find it helpful. So let's get to it, let's check out the pom maker. We have a lot of tools sat here, but once you're set up to make one pom-pom, then you're ready to make as many as you need. Let's just put the hat and the yarn aside. This is the hat that we did the seam for last week. We're not going to need these yet. This is a pair of large sewing needles, so they're ideal for cutting yarn in big lumps. This is just for a single piece of thread, and we'll need the knitter's sewing needle later as well. But first of all, let's get to it with this. So these are paper scissors rather than sewing scissors. I keep them separate. I suggest you do as well. What we're going to do first is mark out what we need here, and we need 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters. So I'm going to do that here. Doesn't have to be desperately accurate, it's just a guide. Now this card that I'm using is called Grey Board. It's the kind of cardboard you will get in a Please Do Not Bend envelope. You'll also find this is the cardboard that makes up the back of sketchbooks. Anything like that, flip top, coiled, bound sketchbook will very likely have this on the back of it. You can also buy this in single sheets and in packs. What I'm going to do now is measure out 2.5 centimeters in, so we have a little border, 2.5 centimeters. The 2.5 centimeters. Again, this does not have to be accurate either. It's just a guide, and you'll see why in a minute. So what we're going to do is just chop that out. So I go into one side of this with the scissors, and then I can cut every other piece of it from there. You're going to worry that you're bending it as you do this, but if you've got large enough scissors, it will actually get the bits that you need quite easily. And then once we've done this, that's it. We don't have to worry about that anymore. You can also do this with a craft knife and a cutting board, so you don't have to chop into it at the side at all. If you don't have that, I'm just showing you that you can do this with scissors. You don't have to feel that you need all of the proper equipment available to you. That's why I've got the tape here. I'm just going to secure this a few times with the tape on both sides. There you go, that is secured. We have our guide for making the pom-pom. What we're going to do now is focus on the yarn. And this is the yarn we're using to make the pom. I'm just going to take it out of the center there. Now let me just show you two poms that I've made before and show you that you can make them to different densities. So this one is much looser, and it's better if you have to sit it on a flat hat, so you actually have a flat side to it. And if you have a hat with a flat crown like that, then that works really well. But for what we're doing, we're making a pom for the hat with a pointed end. I'm going to do one like this so that you basically can barely get in there. It's much more fluffy, it's much more dense, and it's ideal for the top there because you can see it all the way around. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to make the more dense one, and I'll show you how we do that here. And just give yourself a little bit of a length, and we're just going to start wrapping over and over and over again. Okay, so nice and loosely. And count as you are wrapping. For the dense one, I'm doing 80 wraps. 20. Okay, that's 80 wraps. I'm going to cut the thread there. Okay, that is a lot of yarn. So I now need this, and this is crucial, otherwise you won't be able to get through and tie up your pom. What we're going to do is take the needle through the holes that we've made. So we made that square in the middle, literally for this single purpose, so we can go through there. And we can go through the other side. And now I'm going to go through again. And I'm just going to loop through that original one and just start to pull it tight. And encourage it to pull tight with my fingers around the yarn as well. If I can catch those wraps with my fingers, there we go. That's a good start. So we know that this super chunky yarn is, guess what? It's super chunky, so there's a lot of density in there. So we're just going to have to wrap it a couple of times. And thankfully this yarn is really strong. It's really well spun and wound, and it's holding its own. So you can pull this tight without the worry that it's going to come undone or split. I've done that before with making a super chunky pom, and I've had to actually get different yarn out to use to tie the yarn in the middle. Okay, so that is really well bound now. And what I'm also going to do is just tie it with that first loop that we had there. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's a great start. Now I'm going to pick up my sewing scissors. These are nice and long, and they're nice and easy to handle when we're doing this kind of thing. Grab hold of the yarn well, nice and sharp. If your scissors aren't sharp, go and find some foil from the kitchen and cut through it, and that will sharpen your scissors. There we go. Now we can pull that off and use it again. We haven't cut it again, we haven't done anything to it to say that we can't use it again. It is perfectly reusable. That's what I like about this. I sat there for ages trying to work out how to do this. Trying to work out how to make a pom without having to recut the frame constantly. So that is the frame that we can use over and over again for super chunky poms. And there we go. Now, the problem with doing more wraps is that it's going to be more uneven. So we have to do a bit of trimming. That's what the big scissors are for. They're really useful for this. See where the ends are. Pick up the vibes of Michelangelo here. You can imagine that sphere. You just have to take it back to where it is. There you go. Right, we can see that sphere actually finding itself on the top there now. Look at that, that is coming together. A couple of long bits here. And notice I'm holding these two lengths in my fingers as I'm chopping. That's the important part, because we need that to sew it onto whatever is waiting for the pom. If you want to get perfectionist, you'll end up chopping it so there's nothing left. But hold your horses and you'll see that there are just that couple of tiny bits. There you go. So when it comes to chopping, that's actually not a lot. I've cut a lot more when it comes to chopping up pom-poms. Great, so you now know how to make a pom. I should imagine this pom method will work with chunky yarn as well as super chunky yarn. So anything where you'll use above a 6.5mm needle, go above that. And of course, the thinner the yarn, the more wraps you'll have to do. Just so that the volume is there as well. And this is the hat too. This is the large sized hat. There is large, medium and small hats. There's a small and large hat available. You can get them in a kit or you can get the digital pattern. And of course you get the YouTube playlist along with them to use all of the techniques that you need in the hat and the scarf. I would say yes. If you're a brand new beginner, then probably knit a few things first. But if you've been knitting beginner knits for a while, then have a go with these. It just adds a few more nuances to the knitting journey as you go through these patterns, and I reckon you'll quite enjoy them. Thank you so much for joining me today. I do hope I'll see you again soon. We're here every Tuesday, every week with a new video. Bye for now. Happy knitting.